Hey everybody, we are live here at our first webinar with Web Dev Studios. Really excited about today. We're showing off our new product, ThemeSwitcher Pro. And specifically, we want to show this off. This is a very flexible tool. We're going to get into exactly what it does and how we use it at Web Dev Studios. But really, I'm excited about today because we're talking to our peers. We're talking to builders, agencies, freelancers, really anyone that builds or supports WordPress websites. This is a product you're going to want to be aware of. And this is a product that most likely will be a valuable tool in your tool belt. Things that you can bring to your clients, give you some different options on how you might upgrade a site, how you might redesign a site, how you might launch various features within a WordPress site. So a lot of fun stuff today. It's going to be very interactive. So Mitch and I will be kind of leading the ship here. Hop in the chat room. We're going to have a live Q&A. We're going to show off some demos. We're going to show you exactly how we're doing this at Web Dev Studios to generate more revenue, to keep our clients happy, and to give them more options as WordPress is evolving into the great modern platform that we know what it is. So real quick, who are we? My name is Brad Williams, joined along by my side with Mitch Cantor. So I am the founder, managing partner here at Web Dev Studios. We've been in business for 17, almost 18 years, which is kind of mind-blowing to say that out loud, but we've been doing this a long time and focus on WordPress throughout the history of our company. So we've been working with WordPress and open source software development, been very active in the community, have a number of plugins. Many of you may be familiar with Custom Post Type UI, which is our #1 plugin, over 1 million active installs. Written a number of books on WordPress development. So we're very big fans of open source, big fans of WordPress, and we love building complex websites, solving really challenging problems, and using WordPress on the web to do so. I'm also joined by Mitch Cantor, and Mitch, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Brad. Hello, everybody. I'm Mitch. I am the Director of Engineering here at Web Dev Studios. I have been eating and breathing and sleeping WordPress for about over 20 years at this point. Currently here as the director, like I said, so we have several engineers that work under us and support several of those plugins that Brad mentioned, as well as the work that we do for all of our clients. And really excited to kind of dig into more on the technical aspects of ThemeSwitcher Pro and how we as an agency use it to be able to, and this is a bit of a spoiler for what's coming, but how we can use it to really take our iterative development time for clients and give them a solution that works well with their timeline and budget, which I think is the biggest thing that we want to be able to do with this. So over back to
Absolutely.
you, Brad.
Let's get into it. So, I mentioned our company. I think it's important just for some context. We've been working with WordPress for, like I said, almost 18 years. We've really worked with WordPress in a lot of interesting ways. Part of our business is focused on the enterprise or larger scale of WordPress. So, working on really complex projects, large projects, at scale, from traffic to content, millions of pieces of content, advanced workflows, really just building WordPress in really scalable, performant ways in solving enterprise challenges. We also work with smaller companies and smaller businesses as well. So we have a wide range of developers and talent at our company. And if you've run into a situation with WordPress or a challenge or an issue, we've probably seen it, and we've probably had to deal with it because we've been doing this for a long time. So. But let's get into it. So we're going to have a fun webinar today, really focused on ThemeSwitcher Pro. Some of the topics we're going to talk about, welcome introductions. We've already gotten through most of that. I'm going to pass over to Mitch here in just a second to really talk about the problem. The problem that really where ThemeSwitcher Pro stemmed from and the challenges that we saw as an agency and the challenges our clients were having upgrading to more modern WordPress from more classical setups. So we'll talk about the problem and where ThemeSwitcher Pro came to life from that problem as the solution and how we're using it today. We're going to do the overview. We have a number of different examples we've set up. Mitch has some, I have some, different setups, different scenarios. I want to show you how we can use this in different ways. Again, to get your mind really thinking about the possibilities for you and your clients and how this will help them. And then, of course, we're going to do live walkthroughs. So we're going to show all this. We're going to demo it. The video will be available when we're done. So don't feel like you need to take crazy notes. You'll have access to this. But we're going to walk through and show you exactly what we do. We're going to show you how we've done this for clients. We're going to show you how we've done this internally. But we're going to show you what we have on the roadmap and are continuing to build for ThemeSwitcher Pro. So a lot of really fun stuff today. I do want to touch on ThemeSwitcher Pro just as a product and a plugin. So if you're not familiar with it, you know what we're talking about today. So ThemeSwitcher Pro is a plugin. It's a plugin for WordPress. And at its very basic level, what it allows you to do is run multiple themes on a single WordPress website. Traditionally, that was not possible, right? If you wanted to run different themes on a site, you would have to have different sites, maybe in a multi-site network, maybe just separate WordPress installations. Just not really possible to do what we were trying to do. And one of the reasons we needed to solve this challenge is I've mentioned modern WordPress a few times, classic WordPress. It is to help our clients and help WordPress users get from the classic editor, the WYSIWYG editor, up to modern WordPress, the block editor, Gutenberg, right? I'm a big believer that the way we keep people on WordPress and keep WordPress growing is we have to get them upgraded. If they're stuck on classic and they don't know how to get to modern WordPress, we're going to lose them because they're only looking for other options. This is an option to get them on the modern WordPress. So you can do page by page and template level switching. So maybe you just want to change one page, maybe just your about page. You want to run a different theme. You can do that. Maybe you want to change all of your single blog posts to a different theme. You can do that with one click. It's very, very flexible. So we're going to show you the UI, which has some really great features built into it to add the dashboard of WordPress. But we're also going to touch on some of the code layer as well, because everything that we show you in the UI can actually be configured directly via code. And as you can imagine, we build big websites. We work with complex challenges. We have to make sure the things we put in place don't accidentally get undone, or somebody doesn't accidentally deactivate a plugin that is powering the entire website, or doesn't accidentally, flip a switch or change a configuration. That could be a problem. So our general philosophy is we do a lot of this through the code, and that way it's all version control. It's in our Git repository. Anything that needs to be changed is handled by us through the code layer. However, you could do this only using the UI, which is pretty much what we're going to lean into today and show you.
Yep.
And Chris, great question. Mitch, you want to touch that? Because I know you're getting ready to show that off here in a minute.
I do. I don't want to spoil too much, but we are going to cover switching from what we would call like a page builder, like bricks. Specifically, we're going to be talking about Elementor, as since that's one of the ones that we see frequently as we're going through some of our client work and the projects we work on. Short answer is yes. We'll talk about it a little more as we get further into it.
Yeah. And just the idea of low risk, high confidence deployment, right? Like the idea of like relaunching your whole design, the whole new website. It's a big task to relaunch a website, right? We've all been there. We've all done that. There's a launch checklist leading up to it. Everyone's palms are getting sweaty and you hit that launch button, and then you have to scramble and test everything as quickly as possible to make sure it all went the way you expect it to go, which generally it does, right? Well, imagine if rather than that, right, you just create a homepage too as a draft, and you start building out a new homepage using a new theme and using the blocks and patterns available with that theme. And then when you're ready, you can just flip them. Homepage 2 becomes homepage 1, and now it's live. And homepage 1 is now a draft, right? You can always flip it back. How painless is that? I mean, it couldn't be more painless, right? It's literally just switching what is your active homepage from this page to that page, and now you have a whole new homepage using a modern block theme. Like that is very basic example, but I think it starts to show the power of what we've built here and how quickly you and your clients can see the results of what we built here, right? And that's when that light bulb moment goes off. Your client sees patterns, right? They see blocks. That's what they want. If you could have them on a classic WordPress website, publishing blog posts right now using the WYSIWYG editor, if I told you an hour from now you could be publishing block-based posts on your entire production website using a modern block theme, but only for your posts, it won't touch anything else. It's a little mind-blowing, right? You could do that. We're going to show you exactly how to do that on this podcast or webinar today. So let's get into it. We got a lot to show off, and another graphic, multiple themes, one WordPress. Demo time. Let's jump into it. So I'm going to pass it over to Mitch, kind of talk about more of the problem statement, and then let's get into some examples. Please, if you have questions, throw them out as you see them. Well, Bryce is our marketing specialist behind the scenes. He'll flag those up on screen so we can see them. We'll definitely have time for a proper Q&A at the end, but if you see something in real time, got a question, throw it out there. We definitely want to answer it. So with that, let's jump into it.
Awesome. Thanks, Brad. So welcome to my local development environment, and we have a few pages that we would like to switch out. First and foremost, just to cover it, because I know that there's always the question of, okay, well, we get the plugin. How easy is it to install? It's incredibly easy. We make it to where you can install and update the plugin just like you would any other normal WordPress plugin. Either uploading it through or by uploading it through the backend, clicking activate, and everything is kind of primed and ready at that point for you to be able to access all that ThemeSwitcher Pro has to offer. So a quick dig in on the back end. I don't want to take too long back here because we're not going to be spending a lot of time here since we're talking more of page-to-page differences. But we actually do have what we call a lot of one-click or easy integrations for this sort of thing. So you can come in and select which post types or elements that you wish to apply ThemeSwitcher to. So if you want to make it to where ThemeSwitcher is available on pages but not on posts, absolutely doable. And you can actually go in and say at a kind of a wide swath, like painting a wide brush, I want my pages to all use this specific theme by default, and you can do that very easily. You can also do it for the front page of your website specifically. So if you're trying to edit your homepage, you don't have to edit the homepage, messing with settings. You come back, click this with a one-page integration or one-page, one-click, and you can save your settings, and the homepage will immediately be ready to use with the new theme. Same with archives. Basically, we have a lot of these in the front end that are kind of frequent flyers that we see people wanting to edit with WordPress. But we also do have on the development side some hooks and functions to where if there's a WordPress conditional, or if you can write a WordPress conditional to be able to edit it, you can have access to be able to switch that theme programmatically as well. We are talking about the classic editor a little bit today because, again, I mentioned in the chat, the adoption of a block theme is the #1 reason we see people adopting ThemeSwitcher Pro as a solution. You can tell it to either override the classic editor with either the block editor or the classic editor, depending on how you want it to function. And then Brad is later going to talk about some more complex one-click integrations that we have. Right now, we have WooCommerce and Lifter LMS. We have more coming in the very near future. And as we see demand for it, and as new plugins kind of rise to the top, we try to make ThemeSwitcher out of the box as available to use with it, to make sure that you or anybody else can get the most out of their to get the most out of it. Hard to see screen. Let me zoom in a little bit. That will hopefully help. So let me know if that's a little bit better. If you need me to zoom in a little more, I'm more than happy to do so. All right. So for our first test, we're actually going to head over to the classic editor because, again, that's kind of our number one reasoning behind it. And as you can see here, if I were to edit this page, it's a very straightforward classic editor. And what I can do is I can actually go down here and say on the classic editor, I went with a pretty prolific theme for this just so that everybody knew exactly what was going on. This is the 2010 theme. It's a little bit older, and it was really, one of the first themes that had the hybrid approach of it's a classic theme, but it's also a block-based theme if you need it to be. 2010, very straightforward in design, makes it really easy for you to figure out what's going on with it as well. So very simple structure here, just a few paragraphs of text. If I want to turn this into a block theme, it's very straightforward. I can come down here and say, well, I would rather actually use the 2025 theme with that. I can hit update, and then I can immediately go over here to the block editor, and everything is ready to go with that. And I can start to really integrate the blocks. It'll auto-convert all of the different paragraph text to blocks automatically, which is nice. And then I can immediately go in and start adding other things as well, such as images and that sort of thing. Let me just put a random image in here that I have. Not that anybody wants to see my face more often, but screenshot of me speaking at WordCamp.
And if I can jump in too, Mitch, like
yeah.
the switching that happens when you save, and we can do it again just so you can see it, because I feel like the save from Classic Editor, when you hit that save draft and it switches to the block editor in the admin, that is in my mind, that is a big light bulb moment for many clients, right? When you show them that you can do that, when you show them that that's a possibility, and they realize by clicking one drop down and then clicking save, I have just now enabled block editors on my site that maybe the rest of the site, other than this one post, this page or whatever, is running classic WYSIWYG. They've been on it forever. Now you've just brought them the new hotness, the new blocks, Gutenberg, and literally a minute or two, you can show them they can start producing content using blocks. Of course, you want to find the right theme, go from there. But I love that view, because when you show a client that, they get it and they get excited and they want it, right? And that's what we're going after, to help get those clients upgraded.
Absolutely. Lisa Snyder is asking if we can see the list of the blocks. Here's the list. I just added this image in, and before it was just the 2 paragraphs in the classic editor. And now that I've swapped them over, they have been converted into paragraph blocks since we've run the conversion from a classic theme to a block edited theme. And so any editing that I have going forward, this is actually an extra block that I put in. So it's just these 2 specifically and the image. And the good news with that is I can now move move things up and down in the list,
Mhm.
just like I would be able to with a regular block edit. Which means that for and I want to caveat what I'm about to say in just a moment, but for very simple pages that are built with the classic editor, it's a really easy conversion just to be able to get the blocks from the classic WYSIWYG editor, Tiny MCE or whatever it is that you're using, into more of a block-based format, which means you have the flexibility of all of the blocks. The
Yeah.
caveat for that is, and this is something that I'm going to go into with Elementor in just a few minutes. Not every website is necessarily done simply, right? Sometimes you have things that are done with ACF blocks to where you have various complex layouts. Some things are done with a page builder, like we talked about earlier with Bricks or Elementor or Divi or some of those other page editors. Those do not convert quite as easily, but the nice thing about ThemeSwitcher is it gives you an opportunity to go in and adjust your pages and be able to convert them over to a block editor to whenever you are ready to be able to convert those over. All you have to do is, say that you want to run it as a block editor, set up your content, and everything just works out of the box.
Yeah, one thing we do for, because that's actually a great point. Lisa, I think it was Lisa that asked that, around this. If you're migrating or upgrading, I should say, a client site that has, imagine they have tens of thousands of blog posts on the WYSIWYG editor, and you upgrade. Generally, our approach, because to go through all those posts and to QA every single one and to verify that the conversion worked correctly is a significant amount of work. So generally, our approach, that you want to sit down with your client, have a conversation, but our approach is to sit down and say, look, why don't we draw a line in the sand on whatever date that is, and all content before that date will be locked in time with that WYSIWYG editor block. Just a snapshot in time saved. It'll still look exactly like it does on the front end. Everything's there, and then all new content going forward, they would create it using all the blocks, patterns, everything available that come with WordPress in your theme. So if you have a significant amount of content, that's one approach that's worked well for us. Clients are usually okay with that. You don't generally go back and update old blog posts very often. It's just kind of snapshot those, and then all the new stuff can be used blocks. You could, to Mitch's point, also update the old ones. You could go back through. It really just kind of depends. How much is there? And to Mitch's point, how complex is it or not? And whether that makes sense. But sometimes just almost a snapshot in time and everything moving forward uses blocks. Sometimes that's
Yep.
going to be the easiest approach rather than just burning a ton of time trying to, update the old stuff.
It's all about flexibility, right? Every client is going to be different. And every client's going to have a different roadmap to go forward and a different way they want to handle it. And I think ThemeSwitcher Pro gives you the flexibility for whichever method that you wish to do. Question from Chris coming up on the stream: why blocks, and why are they so big for the future of the agency? And I know Brad and I have had lots of conversations about this as we've been working on ThemeSwitcher, and I think the reason that we're so invested in block-based themes is because WordPress is invested in block-based themes. This is the path forward. There are lots of other page builders that are doing a lot of great things, but one of the biggest complaints we hear about a lot of the page builders is they're too bloated, they're too complex, they don't fit within the WordPress way of doing things. And blocks for are they perfect? No, but I think they're the closest things that get us to something that is the WordPress way of doing things. And to answer the second part of the question, yes and no. We are either utilizing a custom block theme. We do have WDSBT, which is our block theme that we've developed in order to be able to rapidly iterate and design and develop client websites with. But we also are not afraid to utilize really well done stock block themes that are out on the market. One of my personal favorites, shout out to Mike McAllister, is Ollie. He does a great job with that theme, and we've had really good success with it, and I've used it personally. So, the answer to that question is it really depends on what the client needs and works for. But again, ThemeSwitcher Pro works with both. If we do the block design, or if we use a theme that has a lot of patterns and visual, visual styles and all of that kind of out of the box, it'll work with both of those. It's just a matter of what's going to be the right fit for the right client. And then finally, to answer Lisa's question specifically, even if we don't have things in the back end for dates or anything of that nature, Anything in the back end can also be programmatically done. And we have documentation that says, if there's a WordPress conditional or if there's a PHP conditional, if the current date is past this date, switch. And if not, keep it the same. Again, on this panel here, we have a lot of things that we've programmed in that are frequent flyers that we use a lot and that we've seen clients use a lot. But you can get as nitty gritty as you want to with it, and really as functional. It just depends on how deep you want to get into the code on it.
I put a link to a blog post we put out around Halloween. Just a fun post, not a real practical example, but it gets the ideas flowing. And essentially, we use code. So, a good example of how we do theme switching at the code level. And all we did in this example is we switched the theme on Halloween. So, if it's October 31st, it switches the theme across the entire website. And then at 12:01 after midnight on November 1st, it automatically switches it back. So you could very quickly take this and based on dates and things, like figure out, okay, if it's before this date or after this date we're gonna switch. You know what I mean? So it's very easy code snippet that you could use to modify really however you want around date based or any other conditionals within WordPress, and then in the code you can switch the theme. So right here is a good example of that.
Yep. The other, like I said, the other biggest use case we have, and somebody brought it up earlier, is page builders. Again, we love our friends over at Divi and Elementor, but we've got to do right by our clients. And a lot of those page builders are bloated, they're slow, they don't really work the way that WordPress, quote unquote, works. There's a different UI. It's hard to tell where you are in the UI at some points. And so, a great example of this is Elementor, right? And we're in an Elementor page that I've built. It's very simple, obviously, just for the sake of, this demo and things of that nature. But you've got a paragraph of text here, a 2-column layout that has a paragraph and an image here, and then another paragraph down here at the bottom. And if I wanted to, I could very easily, edit this back in the regular page. I can exit to WordPress. It'll take me back to the edited page that I have and say, you know what? I don't want to, excuse me, I don't want to use this theme with it right now. I want to switch to my new theme, get the block details out of it. So I want to switch to 2025 and hit update. And then I immediately want to go back to my Elementor test and run to the block editor. Now, again, the way that Elementor stores its data in the back end, it's a little bit different. And so there is a classic block that you could use if you wanted to, but a lot of that code is unfortunately really hard to use. So if it's a live page and you want to switch it, what I typically recommend doing is creating a separate page that you can use to set this up. But at the end of the day, I can, and let me grab just some lorem ipsum, because at the end of the day, we need some dummy text. So I can come in and delete all of this text. I can save it that I want to edit it with the block editor. Insert my paragraph. Here we go, back to the WordPress editor. There we go. I can edit my Elementor test, add in the paragraphs that I want. And one of the biggest things with Elementor and a lot of these page builders is layout options. Content, images, text, all of that is pretty easy to do no matter what page builder you're in. But a lot of the really main reasons that people switch to a page builder is something like columns. And so I can go in and add columns in just as I would to a very standard website. To take my text here, maybe I want to add an image to this column. We'll go to the media library. We'll pick the image that I added earlier. And again, as I grow this out, there we go. And I think it's just because my page is too small. There we go. You can see that again. I can remap this very quickly because of the powerful nature of how blocks are organized and how they work. So I can immediately hit save, go back to view my page. And there is, granted, a very quick and dirty, but still a very viable use of taking a page builder page that was done with Elementor and making it to where you can reiterate and prototype it very quickly with a block theme. One of the biggest things that I hear too with a lot of these demos is, but Mitch, like, you're showing us a lot of like local websites and demos and stuff like that. Like we want to see something real. We want to see like a real use case scenario. I think Mohammed mentioned this earlier in the chat. So we've actually talked to one of our clients, and we have the Jim Joseph Foundation, and they are at its core, they are a foundation that supports Jewish youth. And they tasked us with helping them to be able to really have a strategy for redoing their website over time and iteratively with ThemeSwitcher. And so I actually have two different pages pulled up. One is a sample page with this kind of hero image that's been redone in blocks along with the footer. As well as the header navigation here. And I'm going to switch it back to this page, which if I were to edit this page, which I'm not logged in, so I can't right now, but this page is actually done in the classic editor. And if I scroll down, and if you were to edit this page, this is all done with ACF blocks, Mad Lib style, fill in the blank to get what content you want in the way that you want it to get. And if I scroll down, you can see that there is a footer down here at the bottom. And if I were to go to this page here, you can see there's a footer at the bottom here. And we have done a very good job of matching this up almost pixel for pixel to where this navigation up at the top and this navigation up at the top, let me make it a little bit bigger and scroll back up, have matched to the best of our ability. And that was the goal, right? We wanted something that was a seamless transition between a block-based theme that we are moving to and the old style classic ACF block style theme that we are moving from. And the good news with this is, just like we've been talking about with several of our other potential use cases, they can go in, they can create a brand new page and basically swap out one for one a classic page with one of their with one of the new block-based pages. And the goal is that the audience viewing the website can barely see the difference, and we can switch back and forth. It's fairly indistinguishable going from one page to the other. And so with the right amount of time and the right amount of preparation, for us, we typically do the header and footer, and then a few blocks to be able to match up for our clients as we're working with them. But it gives them the blueprint and the springboard to be able to jump ahead very easily and start iteratively changing their pages over one page at a time to get to where they need to go.
Yeah, and this client, nonprofit, obviously every dollar is important, right? So what we really did, to Mitch's point, is we gave them the tools. We built a modern theme for them that mimics header and footer, brings in all their branding and styles. It also styles up all the blocks, because remember, they weren't using blocks. Now they are, so we got to make sure all the blocks are on brand. And we essentially trained them and gave them the tools so they can self-service and slowly transition these pages on their own schedule, on their own time, right? So they didn't need to reset their or upgrade their website overnight. They did need to do it in a month or two. It was more about giving them the tools to start producing better content easier, and then over time they're going to transition themselves. So it really helps them save time and money. We gave them a great, elegant solution to get that done. So some different ways you could do that. Now, another approach that we've done with clients is exactly this approach, but we're the ones basically replacing the pages over time. And that's when you get into more of a monthly recurring support retainer setup where you say, look, every month we're going to chip away at this website. And every month we're going to replace 5% of it or 10% of it or this many pages or this many sections. And you just start chipping away at it. And then at the end of 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, whatever that timeline looks like, you have essentially relaunched their entire website into a modern block theme website, but it's been spread out. And this is one of the challenges we have seen over the past few years, I'm sure some of you as well, of budgets aren't what they used to be. Spend isn't what it used to be at every level, enterprise down, small business up. Everybody is watching every dollar they spend for obvious reasons, right? So it's a lot harder to sell larger, full-blown redesign rebuilds than it was even a couple of years ago. This is now another option, and this is working for us. We are landing sales. We are landing new clients. We're giving them ideas of how we can build a website, and we're giving them a different plan, right? Imagine you have an RFP. They're looking at 10 different proposals. One of them stands out, and it's completely different than all the rest. And that's the one using ThemeSwitcher. And it says, hey, by month 2 or month 1, you're going to be able to produce content using blocks. Right? And by month 12, your whole site's going to be replaced. Nobody else is going to say that in their proposal. Nobody else is going to get them producing content that quickly using new blocks, and no one else is going to stretch out that budget, not only budget, but their time commitment, which is a lot, right? The client needs to be very involved in this. It spreads out that time commitment too. So they're not all in on a website redesign for 3 months. It's spread out, right? So a lot of options, a lot of opportunities, but I love this solution because it gave a nonprofit what they needed in a way that they could, budget for, in a way that wasn't really possible before this product.
Agreed. To Anne's point too, this is not exactly what you said, but it's worth bringing up that one of the biggest concerns we have when we talk about ThemeSwitcher is also performance, right? Because obviously, if we're moving from something like Elementor to something else, the main reason we're doing it is because Elementor for them has been slow. And I'm very pleased to announce that this is designed to, and I'll caveat this by saying, obviously, it depends on the theme that you're switching to as well, right? But this plugin has been designed to have minimal to no performance impacts because of the way that we've designed the plugin. We're not loading every theme. We're only loading what we need when we need to load it in order to make sure that the right things are being done on the right pages. And we've, with Jim Joseph and with several of our other clients, we've been very pleased to report that just switching to a new theme is enough to bring Core Web Vitals and Lighthouse scores up into the green where it had previously either been in the red or yellow. And that is doing nothing but resetting the content in a block-based theme that's good to go for performance, adding ThemeSwitcher in on top of that. And the performance impacts are minimal. I can't say no because there is things that are going on, but they are minimal at best. And we're very happy to be able to still get green Core Web Vital and Lighthouse scores across the board. And to Kim's point as well, would you want to switch an old Divi site to another page builder? It's definitely doable. We would need to. I am. I'll be honest and say that I'm not sure if ThemeSwitcher out of the gate supports everything that Cadence needs. But if that's a use case that we see a lot for, I definitely think that's something that we could look into and integrate because we're always looking to people using our plugin. To be able to determine like what are people using it for? Is there something that we haven't thought of? And we've been very constantly integrating in new features, new theme, basically certified themes that we know will work with this, and even some extensions to other plugins and themes that we know will work out of the box. So it's a good question, Kim, actually.
Yeah, we got another question coming in from Bryce. Comes to redesign, do you and or the client just deal with certain pages looking different when doing this slow switch to a new system? It's definitely a conversation needs to be had with the client, right? What is the threshold for the variance on differences between the old site and the new site, right? Like with the example of Jim Joseph, we wanted to make it almost identical. So to Mitch's point, the average visitor has no idea there's two themes running, right? Unless you start analyzing code and comparing it, you have no idea. The visuals look exactly the same, but the blocks are allow them to create much more elegant content. You saw the page Mitch was talking about, which is all ACF fields and a bunch of other things. On the front end, that does kind of look like a block page because it's a more advanced template. But on the back end, we know what it's doing, right? You have to fill out all these ACF fields, you have to fill in all these blanks, and then the front end produces that great page. The back end looks nothing like that, is the problem. With blocks, the back end looks exactly like the front end, right? So there's no weird ACF fields. This is the page, and this is exactly how it looks, and you can modify it from there. So it really does depend on your client. Some clients we've talked to, they've said, you know what, we do want to redo a rebrand completely. So they were okay with certain sections looking different for a period of time. At the end of the day, it's a business decision, and something you want to sit down with your clients and see. But generally, our approach, our general recommendation is to make them identical. So the user has no idea that there's two themes running. And then at the end of this project, when they have replaced everything and when they're done, there is no reason you have to leave ThemeSwitcher Pro running, right? Once you have everything on your site running, the new block theme, and you're ready to fully switch it over, all you have to do is deactivate our plugin and fully activate your theme. Done, right? So it's a plugin that can stay on your site forever, but it doesn't have to. It depends on what your strategy and the goals of the project you're working on. And to that point, I'd like to show, Mitch, if you're done with this, I'd like to jump over to Woo and show off WooCommerce. And because we have a number of clients, and I'm sure you do too, that have, they have their website, then they have their store. Right. And if there's one really good example or use case in my mind of where the overall layout and visuals should potentially look different is a shop, right? That is a very clear indicator. A store needs to do very specific things at a store that people expect to help convert sales, right? So,
Yep.
so let's look at my. I'm gonna fire up my demo here.
While you're looking at that, I'm gonna talk about Lisa's question with short codes. Great question, by the way. There is a short code block inside of blocks, the block theme and the block editor. And so at its core, if you have a short code that is programmed into the theme, that short code admittedly will not work, because what happens is we're switching from A, the old theme, to B, the new theme. If those short codes are in a helper plugin, or if they're in a plugin like Shortcoder, where you're using the backend UI in order to create the short code and the things that are happening, those will work, because those are being pulled in from a source that's not the old theme. So if there's a way to be able to migrate that functionality into a helper plugin that would make it kind of theme agnostic, that would be a great way to get it to work very easily and out of the box. The second part of that question, though, is the front end. So if it's something that relies on specialty, styling, that would need to be migrated over separately as well, because again, you're using the short code, and it's basically outputting markup that the theme will then translate based on how the CSS is cascaded to be able to handle that. So if you need to be able to bring in some custom styling, that would also be something that would need to be brought over. Again, though, if it's just kind of basic stuff like I'm outputting an iframe, or I'm outputting a div with like an unordered list, and it doesn't matter what that styling looks like as long as it looks like it matches the theme, that shouldn't be a problem. But it would be case by case. At its core, anything from the old theme would need to be put somewhere theme agnostic, and then any styling brought over. But overall, if it's very simple short codes or things that are like text based, or you're just outputting data, it'll come in as the theme. The new theme has been styled to be able to accept it. Does all of that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. Follow
Thanks,
up if you
Brad.
have another question there.
Yep.
Yeah, that short codes are definitely a special situation. Those are the type of things you want to kind of, you're going to know your builds and your client sites better. Those type of things you're going to want to, write out and say, these are the considerations I need to be thinking about. What is that short code, right? Some short codes are very complex. They bring in a whole shopping cart or something, right? Other short code might just be a Twitter link, so some are very basic, some are complex, but depending on what it does. But those are the type of things you want to look for, and then make sure you test it out and have a plan to account for that in the new theme and the new build. So let me go ahead and share out my store here. So this is a vanilla install of WooCommerce and WordPress. I've imported WooCommerce comes with sample product data, if you didn't know. So I imported the product data feed from WooCommerce, and that is all I've done. So this is a very basic store. It has a lot of products. You can click on detail pages. Right now, nothing special is running. This is just running 2025 as my default theme. You can see if I go back to my homepage, just again 2025. So if we go back to the admin side, Mitch touched on this earlier. We'll go back into ThemeSwitcher Pro, and if we go into integrations, right now we have WooCommerce and Lifter integration. It detects if you have either one of those products activated. You can't turn this on unless you're actually running WooCommerce or Lifter. In this case, we are running WooCommerce. So if familiar with WooCommerce, it does a couple of things when you install it. It sets up a product custom post type. It sets up some custom taxonomy pages, or custom taxonomies, which also have pages. It also sets up a number of it creates pages for specific sections of the site, like the shop, and some other areas that it injects the shop into. So it's kind of a mixed bag of what it creates. So you could use ThemeSwitcher Pro and go click all those pages and switch them one at a time. You could click all the products in the CPT, because we allow you to do that, right? You can come here to products and say, I'm going to switch my product to whatever theme. But that's kind of annoying, right? So why do that when we know what WooCommerce is doing? So instead we said, you know what, let's just make an integration. So if you're running WooCommerce, turn it on. It will see any theme in here. I've installed or added the SkyPilot theme, which is Automatic's WooCommerce official theme. So it's set up to work really well with WooCommerce. That's exactly what it's for. So I'll save it. And then let's go back to our store. And we do the drum roll. We refresh it here. And now we're running SkyPilot. So I can see I'm using debug here, but it says switch theme SkyPilot. And I click through, and now again, the shop page, all the individual product pages, the cart checkout, all of it is running by default. My account, where I can manage my account, my orders, all of this now is running by default SkyPilot. But only WooCommerce. As soon as I leave anything WooCommerce, Go back to my homepage, it goes right back to 2025. So now ThemeSwitcher Pro has taken over all of WooCommerce, and now I can run any theme I want. So this is a great area because I think many times a site might launch a store after the site's already been around for a while, right? And so they naturally just turn the store on and it just kind of inherits whatever the site's design is. It's not optimized for e-commerce. It's not optimized for anything other than to look like the website they turned it on, right? SkyPilot and there's other themes specifically for WooCommerce that are optimized for WooCommerce. They're optimized for products, the workflow, everything. So you're gonna convert more just by using one of these themes. Certainly can always take it farther, but they're made to work really really well with WooCommerce. So another area, this would be an example of where you might want to run two themes on your website indefinitely, and you can absolutely do that with ThemeSwitcher Pro. There's no reason you have to turn it off after a certain period of time. We could run it just so that WooCommerce is running SkyPilot and the rest of our website is running our website theme, and that's it. And it will just stay like that forever. So very, very powerful. And again, we're bringing in more integrations, as Mitch said. So we have Lifter and WooCommerce right now. I know we're working on easy digital downloads. LearnDash is on the roadmap, a few others. So kind of these larger products that everyone's familiar with. We want to make it easy to do theme switching conditionals in any way that you might want it. And my fun little graphic here, thanks to AI, this is what I'd like to show it, right? We're building a house. We're building a house. There is no reason every room in that house needs to look the same, right? In fact, some rooms should look different, like your store, right? Your store should look different. Your store should be optimized for your customers, optimized to convert. The rest of your site can do what it does, but the store is one that really should stand out. So another fun example, again, just to get the ideas going, and some of the new features we just rolled out, starting with version 1.4. So we're coming up on time. I want to make sure if you have questions, you're starting to get them ready or get them in if you haven't asked them already. Any thoughts, questions at all? Again, this is a very flexible product and be used in so many different ways. A lot of this is just, we want to inform you on what we have, and we can't wait to see how you use it and what you're doing. We know there is a community growing around our product. There are some add-ons available. Some people built to work in conjunction with ThemeSwitcher Pro. So it's really neat to see the growth around it, and just another really elegant tool that, again, this isn't just for us, for web dev, right? We like to build tools that we use, but we also build tools that other people could use. So
Exactly.
this is a tool that all of you out there could be using to bring really interesting, different ideas to the table for your clients. And honestly, you're going to bring in more revenue. You're going to land more because you're getting creative and giving the clients actually what they want versus what we've traditionally pitched, which is just the all-in, reset everything, relaunch, full shebang. Those days are in the past. This is the new hotness.
Two questions from the chat while we're going over it. Kim White was asking about a specific integration, the events calendar. If anybody has any really good ideas for integrations, events calendar is a great one. Let us know either through a DM, or we have some support documents you can fill out a request for a new feature. We'll add it to our backlog because like I said, we want to know what everybody is using that we can start building these integrations for, because that's what we're doing this for. We want to be able to help make it to where switching to a new theme, whether permanently, temporarily, or section by section, is easy. And we want to make it as low friction as possible to be able to do that. And to answer Chris's question as well, when you've got two active themes, you're not loading the CSS from theme A while you're displaying theme B. Correct. So what I like to say is, without kind of digging into the secret sauce too much, we basically short circuit the theme load order. And we're saying that at this very specific point in the theme load order, I need WordPress to check which theme is being run right now. Even if it says it's running like 2020 in the back end, I want to know for this specific page, based on conditionals or whatever is going on, what theme is being run. And then it continues loading the theme as if that theme were the active theme in the WordPress backend. And then it switches back out once it's all said and done out of that short circuit into the original WordPress load order. And that's what I was talking about earlier about performance, right? If we're not using Elementor, we don't need Elementor. We're not loading it because we don't need it, We want to make sure that we're only bringing in the scripts and stuff that we need and the styles that we need to make sure that we're as lightweight as we possibly can.
Yeah, that was important from the start, because I mean the theory of how you could build this in so many different ways, and almost all of them are wrong. So we had to be really one, we had to validate the idea was possible without doing it in a really hacky, not a way that we wouldn't really trust for our own clients, right? So that was number one, which we quickly validated. Yes, it's possible. And then we need to make sure, to Mitch's point, secure is performant. It does things in a way that makes sense. It's not hacking WordPress. It's something that can run on host. This is running on WordPress VIP. This is running for high traffic websites. So this is running on, premier services that would reject something like this if it wasn't done correctly, right? So I will say, if there's other things out there, there's some things, there's like some testing ones on .org that do similar things, but they don't support the block editor because it is, I think on paper, even thinking about it, it might sound easier to do than what it actually was. This is a pretty significant lift of how we were able to do this, and certainly took all the amazing developers at our company to really put their heads together to figure out the proper way to do this in a way that makes sense because this has really never been done before. So and we did it. By all accounts, everything's looking good. It's running. It's performant. It's on production. It's on our website. It's on other websites. So that's why we're really out there sharing the knowledge and info because we want other people to use this. Again, going back to one of the original things I said, we're huge fans of WordPress, big proponents of open source, and I firmly believe if we don't get more of these classic websites updated, when those website owners go to look at what's next, WordPress will not be on that list, right? Because what they know is the old WordPress. They know classic WordPress. They don't know modern WordPress. And if we're not there helping them see that, helping them have those light bulb moments, helping them see it go from classic to blocks, and then within a couple minutes, a couple seconds, I'm launching these block-based pages. That is a light bulb moment that gets them excited that they would want this. So it's on all of us as builders to help educate and help share this knowledge, not just on our product, but just on blocks in general, and get anyone on classic WordPress excited for what's modern WordPress is doing, and help get them there however we can. So yeah, it's a big mission. It's a big mission for sure. But when you power half the internet, everything's a big mission, right? So
That's right.
yeah, cool.
And so, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say to Ann's point on VIP, VIP is one of our hosting partners that we work with as an agency, but we've tested this on several of our other ones, Pagely, Pantheon, WP Engine, and all of them have given us the green light basically to say, yeah, this is not something that's going to hack or run inefficiently. This works and it works well. And we've, been in conversations to even figure out how to leverage that at their end as well, because it's an opportunity for us. But I think, speaking from experience, if you get a plugin to where all of the hosting platforms can go, yeah, no, this is great, it works the way we intend it to, it's a big green flag, because again, there are many different ways to do this that are not the right way, that are going to cause load time or spiral out of control with how queries are handled or what's being loaded. And we wanted to make this, we wanted the lightest touch that we could to get what we needed to done, just because we knew that performance was going to be a problem.
That is right. So definitely, any last minute questions, please get them in. I want to thank everyone for coming today. You will get an email with a follow up of the recording, and we are also going to give everyone who signed up today a free copy of ThemeSwitcher Pro. Test it out. We're going to send you the latest version 1.4.1. We'll follow up in the email that you registered with, so look out for that in the next day or so. But we'll send you a copy. We'd love any feedback you have. Certainly, any questions, comments, please let us know. And all we ask is if it's something to use for a client, you would purchase a license for them for support and updates. But we're really excited about this product. Firm believer, this is something a lot of us, other builders, I want them to be aware of this, because again, it's another tool in your tool belt, right? There's so many different ways we can build things, so many different ways we can work with WordPress. This is another tool. It doesn't mean this is the only way to do things, but to have the more tools you have, the better, because that's more options for you and your team and your clients. And they know you're always thinking and looking out for them. You're looking at what's the new stuff is. You're looking at how to get it up to modern WordPress. To Mitch's point, blocks are just faster, right? Blocks are faster. So if anything else, that is how you sell this. Your site's going to be faster. It's going to rank higher, right?
Yep.
Period. It will.
I say,
because
I was going to say too, in closing, we've heard from several other agencies that have used this that are our competitors. Realistically, we're all friendly, right? Well, there's enough WordPress work to go around. And the number one thing I hear is, man, I wish I'd have had this for whatever project 6 months ago, because it is a game changer. In fact, I, even talking to people that have done, deep dives into here's how we built this big project. And then they see ThemeSwitcher and they're like, man, we could have built it with ThemeSwitcher instead. And I mean, obviously that makes us feel very proud, but it also validates, I think, the work that we're doing, because we know at an agency level how stressful and frustrating it is for either a project to go over because of the amount of work needed, or for worst case, a project to say, no, we can't do that right now. And our goal is to open as many doors as we can for clients, because in turn that will advance the agencies. They get clients that can, keep their lights on, and new users and clients that can benefit from what WordPress has to offer. Not the old WordPress, but the new WordPress that's easier, faster, and lighter. And I personally think we've stumbled on something kind of special here, and I'm happy that everybody here has gotten a chance to see the work and blood, sweat, and tears that we've poured into it. So I hope everybody gets a
Yeah.
chance to test it out and really enjoys it.
Yeah, thanks so much everyone for coming. Really appreciate the support. I hope you learned something. Look out for that email. Most likely will be out tomorrow. You'll certainly get the recording, and we'll get a copy of ThemeSwitcher you can download. Like I said, if you have any questions, thoughts, comments, please reach out. We have a lot of docs on our website, ThemeSwitcher.com. Code snippets. There's actually a plugin in our plugin. It's a sample plugin that has code snippets that you can use to actually do theme switching via code. So if you're wanting to go with the code layer, it's a good way to kind of play around with it, experiment with it. You can look at that plugin that ships with our plugin as an example of how we do that. So, but again, thanks to everyone. I think we got all the questions in. If you have anything else, just hit us up. I'm Brad at webdevstudios.com, Mitch at webdevstudios.com. Shoot us an email or follow up on the email we send with the copy. But yeah, thank you for everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.